Hey everyone, Coach John here from the head pro at the Racket Club of Cocoa Beach, and we're outside in this beautiful driveway, making sure that we stay quarantined and we're away from everybody else. But there's no reason why you can't practice your tennis techniques without the court, and so you can stay sharp. So for today's lesson, what we're going to be talking about is lobbing. One of the number one topics that we get approached with is, how do I hit the lob? Man, I hate that lobbing player. What do I do? Well, guess what? If you can't beat them, join them. So now that's what we're going to learn today. All right, so first of all, what we need to do is recognize the different types of lobs that occur during the game, because all of those are going to depend on the type of strategy when you're going to use these lobs. First off, the most well-known is the defensive lob. So your player has hit a good shot on you, you're running, and you threw that lob up to get back into the court. Remember, the lob up is gaining you time to recover into the court. That's the primary cause. It's not to just hit it as high as possible and try to go for a winner. So keep that in mind. The next thing that we'll talk about is offensive lobbing. Offensive lobbing is one of those great tactics, especially in doubles, that allows you to change the play of what's going on the court to your advantage. It breaks the momentum. So when you have a great baseliner and that likes to come into the net, lob that net player, and that way you're able to sneak in behind it, take that volley out of the air, and really change the dynamic of the point. Also, if you have a doubles team that is attacking a lot, they will love to come to the net. Guess what? Throw them up this lob, and then all of a sudden, now they're uncomfortable running back to have to hit that ball. One of the most uncomfortable positions for a player that likes to move forward is moving backwards. So keep that in mind. The third one is a little bit more challenging to execute, and that's the Lob Volley. So this one gets executed when both players are more at the net. Typically when you've hit a shorter ball and that player is stretching, they're running forward and they kind of just push that ball back to you. You kind of just lob that volley right up over their head. And one of the most frustrating things as a player that just ran all the way up to the net is to just stand there and watch that ball go right up over your head with nothing to do about it. And lastly, the more important part of this is practice. So nobody got good overnight. So these are some techniques that will help you develop your game. Oh, and I almost forgot the Topspin Lob. That is one of the most deadly lobs, especially to hit in the singles and or doubles game, making it very challenging because once it bounces, it continues to travel forward. That can make it very challenging for that player to have to hit. All right, so what we're going to do first is starting off with the defensive lob. We want to make sure that we are using that continental grip. That's going to be the easiest way to really cut underneath that ball and catch some height on it. So the thing you have to remember is you are on the move. So you're trying to keep this as simple as possible. So as I'm moving and I'm stretching, I'm going to take that racket back, open up the racket face, and allow that ball to catch and carry. Because then again, once I hit that shot, I recover and try to get back as quick as possible. On the backhand side, if you have a one-hand backhand, again, laying that hand back and trying to reach and push that ball up, giving yourself plenty of time. If you have that two-hand backhand, again, I would recommend laying that racket back and pushing up. That way remember, these are desperation shots, so hopefully it goes the way we planned, but at least it gives us time to get back into the court. That we're going to look at is going to be looking at the offensive lob, and that can be executed in two different ways. One, we can execute it with that continental grip. All right, it's just a little bit harder to disguise this way, so the player may see it coming. So when you go to hit that ball, you go into your setup, you've got your racket back, and then at the last minute, again, laying that hand back and pushing that ball up. One of the most common errors that I see when players try to hit these lobs is they oversell it. So they end up leaning all the way back and they end up pointing that hand to the sky and hitting like this. Well, that's great. The lob went straight up into the air about 10 feet, but it just ended up bouncing in front of the service line, and now that player just came forward and had a great time. That didn't really do me any good. So you want to stay nice and balanced. You do want to have that weight back, but remember, transition your weight forward as you're swinging as you would a normal stroke, but making sure that you are extending your stroke a little bit more up than out. If you continue fast speed going out and up, you just hit that ball out. So make sure that you're looking at that, and it does definitely take practice. The last part of this is looking at the Lob Volley. And again, this is executed with that continental grip. And when we go to do this, you want to use those hands, and what you're going to do is make that racket very solid, squeeze the grip, all right? And then you're going to come underneath the ball and again push that shot up over that opponent. You want to make sure that you're not extending too far or getting into that wrist snap motion. Again, that will make that ball go to the wrong target that you are intending. Again, make sure that you turn your shoulders and you're really looking forward to have that nice solid base, and then you can push that ball where you need it to go. Remember, this one does not need to be as high as some of the others. This one can be what I call a moderate height, where it's just high enough to get up over that player, because when you try to add too much, you tend to hit it out. So keep that in your toolbox for later. And the last one of my personal favorites, is hitting that topspin lob. That one is the most difficult out of all of them to master. You still turn, get your racket down, you'll lean, and then you'll brush up on that ball. Again, one of the more common mistakes that I see with this is the player tends to slow down that swing and try to follow through. Well, if you don't have enough racket speed, that topspin is going to bring the ball down, and if you don't have enough strength behind it, it's not going to go far enough into the court. So you want to make sure that you practice with that nice racket speed, swinging up and making sure you brush. And really the easiest way to do this is I like to practice by hitting it a little bit harder and dialing it down. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it, instead of going opposite, starting softer and just increasing power. But that's just a quick tip when we do get back out on the courts. So going forward, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some great little exercises that you can do here at home, that since we are taking a hiatus from the tennis courts, that can add a little bit of fun and a little bit of technique practice. Okay, so for this practice, we're going to work on that topspin lob, and I got to admit, this one is definitely not as fun as some of the other ones. It's going to involve a little bit of walking, and a little bit of control. But remember, you're looking for a nice arc, half moon shape when you hit this lob. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit this ball with some nice arc right over the roof. Okay, so guess what? Hang in there. Here we go. Beautiful. All right, and now I got to go get the ball, so stay tuned. I'm coming right back at you. Okay, so now that I got my ball back, what we're going to work on now is a little bit more the defensive and offensive lob put in one. We're going to go ahead and go to that continental grip, all right, turning that body sideways and making sure that we get that nice push on those lobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit it as close as we can to the pinnacle of that roof. And because it is a roof, it's going to take some funny bounces, so it might be a little more challenging, and you're going to have to move your feet for that next ball, but you're going to want to keep it going as many times as you can. So here we go. Well, guess I need a little bit more practice with that lob. So let's move on. We're going to move on to that next step. All right, so moving on, well, the other topic is hitting that lob volley. Here's another way. Come up to your garage door and your roof, and you're just going to volley that ball, again working on the touch, getting a little bit of height, and volley it back and forth with the roof. Here we go. Beautiful. Looks like my lob volley is looking good. So now for what you can do to add a little bit more fun, because this might get a little monotonous, is add some targets. So hang in there, here's the next step. Okay, so you can see that I have added some trash cans out here as big targets. So now I can have a little bit more fun and challenge myself. I can do this on either side of the drill. So I can either let the ball bounce and push it up, or I can take it out of the air. So what I like to say is kind of improvise a little bit and have some fun with it. Try not to hit the same shot more than twice. So here we go. Sometimes it only takes once when you get very good at it. So until next time,